Good morning, guys. We're getting into angles, okay? So if you need to pause, go ahead and pause, and we'll just talk about this one, and then you can pause again. Yeah, just pause as you go. I'll make sure I kind of break my talking down so it gives you time to pause and come back, okay? All right. So we're talking about angles, all right? So what are angles? Angles are going to be two rays that share a common endpoint. So if you look here, there's ray BA, there's ray BC, and they share the common endpoint B, and that's how you create an angle, okay? Now, there are a few ways you can name an angle, but you make sure you have to go in order, kind of like connecting the dots, like I said the other day, okay? So I'm going to go over the ways you can name them, all right? Let me move this here. All right, so when I say go in order, I'm going to start with either A or C. So the symbol is an angle, and I'm going to start with letter A. Then it goes to point B. Then it goes to point C. So I can call this angle ABC, okay? I can go the other way, angle C. Then it can't go to A, but it can go to B. So C to B, and then finally to A. Okay, so I can call it CBA. I can also call it by the endpoint that the two rays have in common. In this case, both of these rays have a common endpoint of point B and point B. So I can call this also angle B. Okay. And just like yesterday, if there was a number inside here that does not have degree sign, so if there was like a number 1 right there, I can also call this angle 1. Okay, that's only if there is not a degree sign in there. So if there's a degree sign, then it tells you what the angle actually measures. Okay. All right, let's go to the 4 types of angles. You've known these since you started geometry. Okay, it's the acute, obtuse, right, and straight. So let me just refresh your memory really quickly on these. Okay, if you remember the acute, it's nice and cute. The acute angle is less than 90 but greater than 0 degrees. Okay, so it's the little itty bitties. Okay, so an example of that, I'm going to use the margin for an example. Could look like this. Okay. I mean, compared to the perfect 90-degree angle, it's going to be less than that. Okay, so it's less than 90, but it has to be greater than 0 degrees. Okay, so it's nice and cute. Next, we have the obtuse, the big guy. Okay, it has to be greater than 90, okay, but less than 180. It cannot be 180. So it has to be less than 180. So it can be 179.9 degrees. Okay, greater than 90, 91 degrees, or 90.5 degrees. Okay, anything like that, it'll be considered obtuse. So an obtuse angle looks like that, or can look like that. Okay, there's tons of them, because it's pretty much anything from 90.00001 to 179.999. Okay. Then we have the right. He is the perfect angle, right? Okay, correct. It's exactly 90 degrees. It cannot be 90.1. It cannot be 89.9. It has to be 90, just 90. Okay, and that looks like this. Okay, and it's even special. It's special because it has its own symbol, remember? For me to show you this is a 90-degree angle, I have to put that box right there in. This box means 90 degrees, okay? So you need to see that box there for it to say that it is exactly 90 degrees, all right? And then we have the last one, the straight angle. It is what it sounds like. It's a straight angle, okay? It's exactly 180 degrees. It's pretty much half of a circle if you look at it, okay? So a straight angle, there's my endpoint, is right there, okay? And if you look, it is half a circle, and that is 180 degrees. It cannot be 179.9, it can't be 181, it has to be exactly 180, just like the right angle, okay? So those are the 4 main ones that you've probably been talking about them for a while in elementary. You're acute, nice and tiny, less than 90. Obtuse, the big guy, greater than 90, but less than 180. Then you have the right, he is exactly 90 degrees. And then you have the straight angle that is exactly 180 degrees. Okay, awesome. Now let's talk about two more types of angles. I'm going to move this up, so if you need to pause, go ahead and do so. And let's talk about the vertical angles. Vertical angles are opposite angles that are also congruent. So to remind you what congruent means, it is equal, okay, equal. So let me show you what vertical angles look like. They're going to have intersecting lines, okay, so here's my intersecting lines, just like that. And vertical angles are opposite each other, okay, so here's angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, and angle 4. Vertical angles, so 1 and 3 are congruent. So I can say angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. So those two are congruent, okay? Also, I can say, I need a different color, purple. Angle 2, I'm going to put 2 lines here, is congruent to angle 4. They're opposite of each other, okay? So angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. So vertical angles, opposite angles are equal. So if angle 1 is 60 degrees, that means angle 3 is also 60 degrees, okay? If angle 2 is 120 degrees, then angle 4 is 120 degrees. Now, what makes it so special is when I add these up, it should make a perfect circle, which is 360 degrees, okay? Which means angle 2 and 3 should equal 180. Angle 1 and 4 should equal 180. Okay, and you can go around the whole thing. All right, but opposite angles are equal on vertical angles. Okay, and they are created through 2 intersecting lines. Okay, adjacent. Adjacent angles is next. It says 2 angles that share a common ray. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. It means I have 2 angles. Here's my 2 angles, and they're going to share a common ray. So they're going to share a side. Take a look. So here is one angle, okay, and using one of the rays here, there is another angle. See, so they share that ray. Okay, so you have kind of like that ray going in there, but it is 2 angles. Okay, is there something special about them? No, they're not equal, they're not congruent. It's just that they do have that commonality of the common ray. Okay, they do share a common ray. That's the only thing. Okay, so you have this angle 1 and angle 2. So I'll label them. Here's angle 1, here's angle 2. And they are adjacent angles because they do share a ray. They have a ray in common. Okay, good. Now let's talk about these two. These two get a lot of students confused. I'm going to hopefully show you some tips to remember which belongs with which, okay? It's complementary and supplementary, all right? So complementary angles are 2 angles that add up to be 90. Now these 2 angles could be adjacent angles or they can be separate, perfectly fine. But the key word here is that they add up to be 90, and it has to be 2 angles. If I have 3 angles that add up to be 90, they're not complementary. It's just 2, okay? 2 angles added up to be 90. So what does that look like? Well, let's just make up 2 angles. So let's say they might give you something like this, and that tells me that that's 90. And then they're going to make something adjacent here. So there's some adjacent angles, and they can tell you this one is 60 degrees, and this one is 30 degrees. So when you add them up, 60 degrees plus 30 degrees, you get that 90 degree. So these 2 angles are complementary angles, okay? So anytime you see the word complementary or complement, that means that your total is 90. So what can happen is I can take away one of the angles and be like, okay, these two angles are complementary. One of them is 30, figure out the other one. Once I hear the word complementary, I need to have that vocabulary in my brain that tells me complementary is 90 degrees. So I would have to subtract 90 and 30, and that's how you would get the 60, okay? Now, a way to remember this, complementary starts with a C. I can turn that C into a 90, okay? So maybe that'll help, but complementary has a C, and that C remembers, oh, it's a 90. And you're gonna see what happens with supplementary. I'm gonna show you the supplementary trick next, so you can see like, oh, C is 90, and you can really kind of see it. The S, you're gonna see it, okay? But complementary angles is two angles add up to be 90 degrees. All right, supplementary, his partner, okay? Supplementary angles are, again, two angles that add up to be exactly 180. Okay, so these two have to add up to be 180 degrees. So what does that look like? Well, they're going to pretty much look like a straight angle, because if you remember, the straight angle is exactly, what do you call it, is 180. So I'm just going to make up a number here. And we'll say this one is 30 degrees, which means this one has to be 150 degrees. Okay, so again, that means 150 degrees plus 30 degrees gives you 180 degrees. Okay, so again, it's two angles, not three, not four. It's exactly two angles that when you add up their measures, you will get exactly 180 degrees. Okay, so if I tell you two angles are supplementary of each other, okay, or if I say one angle is 30 degrees, find the supplement of the other one, then all you have to do is figure out, okay, supplementary or supplement is 180. You would take the 180, subtract it from the 30, and that's how you would get the other angle, the 150. Okay, so that's why it's so important to know complementary versus supplementary, because one of them is 90, one of them is 180. So let me show you the trick on this one. Now I showed you the C over here makes a 9 for 90. Guess what the S makes? You can probably see it. It makes an 8 for 180 degrees. Okay, so that's just a trick there that I like to tell my students. Another trick I show them is the P's. So if you take a look here, you have one P here, two P's here. So P looks like a 9 backwards. So this tells me, oh, 90, okay? This is 290. So what's 90 and 90? 180, okay? So a single P would be 90 degrees, and the double P would be twice as much, which would be 180. So that's another way you can remember the difference between complementary 90, supplementary 180, okay? All right. Go ahead and copy the examples down, and we'll get them done together so you can know how to solve them. You might already know how to solve them already, okay? And then we'll get into the try it outs. So let's take a look at example 1. If you have it copied down already, it says solve the missing measure. Now here I don't tell you if they're complementary or supplementary, so you have to know what they look like. You have to know, okay, a 90-degree angle looks like an L. The 180 is a straight angle, and it's a nice straight line. So if you take a look here, don't look at the adjacent, don't look at the common ray, look at the end. It creates a straight angle. The straight angle is 180 degrees, okay? So I know that when I add these together, when I add 20 and X, I'm going to get 180 degrees, okay? So to solve for that, like we've been doing equations, you do the opposite. So instead of adding, we're going to subtract by 20 to both sides. And that's how you get rid of those. So this is the why we get to do what we do, okay? And then 180 minus 20 is 160 degrees, okay? So that means X is 160 degrees. And I can check my work. If I do 160 plus 20, I get 180, which is what I need. Okay, good. Now look at number 2. Look at the angle. I see that box, which means I know when I add these together, I'm going to equal what? So I'm going to write that down. I know that x plus 15 equals 90 degrees. Okay? So to solve for this, we do the opposite. So instead of adding the 15, I'm going to subtract 15. Okay? And that gives me x is equal to 75 degrees. So x is 75 degrees. And I can check if I do 75 plus 15, I do get the 90. Okay, but it's good to know how to do the equations because they're not just going to give you one number. They're going to give you like maybe 2 variables in there. Okay, they're going to give you x and 2x or something like that. So you need to understand how this equation works and how to manipulate it correctly so you can solve all these problems. Okay, let's go to the next one. I don't give you a picture, so you have to know what the word means. So here it says find the complement of 27. Complement. You can use the C that tells me 90 or the single P tells me 90, but you need to know that complement is 90 degrees, okay? So find the complement. Well, I know I need to do 90 minus 27 is 63. So the complement of 27 is 63 degrees. And I can check if I add 63 and 27, I do get 90 degrees, which is complementary, the definition of complementary angles, okay? Now, number 4, find the supplement. So if you need to memorize it, I have 2 P's here, or the S turns into an 8. And that tells me that supplement equals 180, okay? So I'm going to take my 180, subtract the 87, because I got to find the other number, okay? And careful with your borrowing. That's 93 degrees. Your answer will be in degrees, so you're looking for the measurement, okay? And you can check your work. If I add 93 plus 87, I will get 180 degrees, okay? So complement, you are subtracting from 90. Supplement, you are subtracting from 180, okay? You think you got those two? All right, let's get into the try it outs. Let's see how you do. Paper. All right. So I want you to go ahead and find the missing measure here. Okay, on all 4. Press pause, then come back when you are ready to check your work. Let's see how you did, guys. Okay, over here, you should have noticed that this was a supplementary angle. So 75, well, x plus 75 will give me 180. Then you should have noticed that you should have subtracted by 75. Okay, and that will give you 105 degrees. 105 degrees for number 1. Okay, so check your work. Check my work. If I got it wrong, let me know. Okay, all right, that's number 1. Number 2, I see this beauty right here that tells me that if I add x and 45, I should get 90 degrees. So then you should have just subtracted 90 and 45, right? And when you subtracted 90 and 45, you should have just gotten 45 degrees. 45 degrees for number 2. How'd y'all do? Good. And if not, come to the Google Meet. And we'll get to the bonus in a little bit. Don't get the bonus yet. Okay. Number 3, supplement. All right, let's see if you got this one. Supplement is 180. So all you had to do was take 180 and 120 and subtract. And I got 60 degrees. 60 degrees for number 3. Okay. And the last one, complement tells me it's 90 degrees. So 90 minus 70 is 20. So the complement is 20 degrees. 20 degrees for number 4. Okay, how'd you do on all 4 of those? Awesome. If not, come to the Google Meet and I'll help you out, okay? Now for the bonus. I want to see who can think their way through this one. I'll give you a clue. Use an equation and manipulate the equation, okay? So I want to see who can solve that. So press pause and see if you can solve for x. And then give me the degrees of each one. Press play when you're ready. All right, this is what I meant by use an equation. I know that these two added together will equal 180. So I'm just going to write down what I know, guys. I know that if I add 3x plus 5 and 2x, I know I'm going to get 180. So I just wrote down what I knew. Now it's a matter of manipulating the equation, okay? Now, first thing I see is I see an exponent, a variable here and a variable there. So I'm going to go ahead and combine them. So this is 3x and that's 2x. And they're both positive and we're adding. So I'm going to go ahead and add in 3x and 2x. And when I add them together, I'm going to get 5x's. Okay? So just think of it this way. I have 3x's over here. I have 2x's over here. You add them together and you get a total of 5x's. Okay? So there's my 5x's. I didn't do anything to my 5. So plus 5 are the 180. So now this looks like an equation we've done before. Two-step equations. We're going to isolate the variable. His best buddy is going to stay with him for now. Let me get rid of the number that's by himself. So we're going to do the opposite. We're going to subtract 5 from both sides. And that's going to cancel these out. My 5x stays alone. He's fine. And 180 minus 5 is 175. Okay, so far so good. Wonder who got this one. Now I'm going to isolate again. And instead of multiplying by 5, we do the opposite. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5. And that's going to give me 5 into 17 is 3. And 525 is 5. So there's my first part. X is equal to 35 degrees, or to 35, just to 35, okay? Now I need to solve for the missing measures. So I'm going to solve for 3x plus 5 first. In place of x, I'm putting 35, okay? So I'm going to do 3. Remember, this means to multiply. 3 times 35 plus 5. So order of operations, got to multiply first. So 3 times 5 is 15. 105 plus 5 is 110 degrees. So this one is 110 degrees. And not even having to do the work, I already know that if I do 110 and 180, I should get 70. But watch. So over here, it's 2 x's. So 2x. Let's substitute in. The x is 35. And 2 times 35 is 70. So this is 70 degrees. To check if I got it right, this is a straight angle. These are supplementary angles. So 110 and 70 does give me 180 degrees. Okay. Please leave me a comment in the Google Classroom to let me know if you got this one right. I'm very excited to see who got that one right. Okay. I'll see you at the Google Meet, guys. That's all I have for this lesson. If you have any questions, come to the Google Meet or send me a private comment. I'll answer it as soon as possible. Okay. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.